Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Nittany Lion Sports Report here on Bob Long Sports. It's a Sports Stream Premium Network housed production. Bob Long, Tyler Gehlhaus with me as always. Our guest picker tonight will be Ryan Lennox, a producer for Villanova basketball and football radio broadcasts. So we'll talk to him about the Wildcats and the upcoming FBS, Penn State versus FCS. Villanova matchup coming up, number 6 versus number 7, Tyler. Of course, Penn State number 6 in the national polls and Villanova number 7 in the FCS. So that will be fun, but we need to talk about Auburn, and we're going to break it down in depth for you today. Tyler, we were there. We were on opposite ends of the stadium. Penn State a 28-20 winner. There's a lot to get into, but where do you want to start? What was your takeaway from that game?
Yeah, I have a couple of takeaways. First, I'm still trying to, as you can hear, trying to get my voice back. My legs hurt a little bit too. I feel like I actually played the game. I walked about 15 miles on Saturday, in not the best walking shoes, and I stood the whole game. I screamed the whole game. So still feeling it on my end. But, it was the first thing I'm going to say outside of the atmosphere was that was probably the best game I've seen Sean Clifford play start to finish. Outside of that home run shot at the end of the half there, trying to make something happen with some time left. He was on fire, 28 of 32, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looks like an improved quarterback already from week 1, really. And hopefully this is something that they can build upon, and hopefully this is a Sean Clifford we get the rest of the season, because if that's the case, we're going to have good results.
Better footwork, quicker, more effective reads, better accuracy. Besides the one interception, his misses were safer misses. Really good all around from the play caller. But I do believe it all stems, Tyler, from the footwork. And his footwork has improved dramatically. Yurcich has given him, I think, less to think about in some ways. And really a well-called game by Mike Yurcich as well. Got the tight ends involved as well as I've ever seen him. Some slips there, some miscommunication, some mismatches, corners on tight ends at times, or, linebackers thinking they're run blocking, and then Brenton Strange pops out and goes for 40 yards. Thought the tight ends were excellent. Jahan Dotson, of course, excellent again. And Sean Clifford, the beneficiary of all of that. Also the pass blocking, right? We'll talk a little bit about the run blocking, but the pass blocking was awesome. And I thought that the opening play where he stood there for about 8 seconds in the pocket sent a message early on. And that was a big message to send in front of the Whiteout crowd.
Yeah, I think all those are great points, about the pass blocking. I thought that the third down conversion of Keandre Lambert-Smith, I counted it. He had 7 Mississippi seconds, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, all the way to 7 Mississippi. Lambert-Smith came back to the ball, first down. And then you saw it a little bit on the Jahan Dotson touchdown. I mean, Clifford didn't get sacked at all. I mean, he kept his jersey clean. The pass blocking was phenomenal. And we talked about getting the tight ends involved, and who would have thought that we would see a Wildcat touchdown from the third-string tight end and Tyler Warren? He even caught a ball from Jahan Dotson. So I thought the tight ends would get involved. I thought it would be crucial to get them involved, but I didn't necessarily think, 1, it would be Tyler Warren catching a ball from Jahan Dotson, and 2, running it in from a Wildcat touchdown. But, yeah, great play development and scheme, too, by Yurcich, especially, Bob, on that long play to Strange, where he was actually he was set up in the left tackle spot, and they had Caden Wallace, the right tackle, all the way out of the receiver spot in his stance, and they just leaked out Strange, and down he went, set up a touchdown.
Yeah, great play calls all around. I thought Tyler Warren getting involved was great. Didn't expect to see him play the role that he did. Even on that play where Jahan Dotson did make the throw, I made the point to the folks I was sitting next to of, this is an interesting formation with the 2 tight ends lined up on the same side of the field, and then Dotson came in motion. And I said, this is different. I wonder what they do. Not that I had that play predicted by any stretch of the imagination, but some trickery there. on an already unconventional format setup sequence. And I thought Tyler Warren bringing him in as the as the Wildcat of the direct snap there was, I'll call it an interesting call. He had some experience playing that role in high school. Big guy, made the read option. Didn't think he made a great read, obviously, on the second one. As we talk about a lot, the run pass option is about leaving a defensive end uncontested and then having that end make the decision. Well, on the second one, on the other end of the field where he was dropped for a big loss, the end went after Warren. Noah Kane came across. Handoff probably should have gone to him there. But you know what? He's a redshirt freshman. He's learning. And I thought the first one, of course, was effective. Of course it is, right? But him busting it outside of the tackle box made me wonder what was going on there. Maybe there was more to that play that didn't quite develop. But again, making decisions outside the box, taking chances, keeping teams off balance. Mike Yurcich did it to a T. I even liked the fake punt. That was another situation where 4th and 1, and they sent the punt unit out. And again, I said to the guy I was sitting next to, if there's ever a time for a fake, here it is. And then even the way you saw Penn State huddling,
they set up, maybe that was. They sped it up there. And I
liked the call.
I did too. And, I actually probably, a lot of people I think probably agree with me. I think PJ must have forgot the first down. Even when I went back and watched the game, when the whistle blew, there's no way that 325-pound body was not at least a yard over the line, the line to gain there. But thankfully that didn't cost them the game or any of the other weird situations with the refs, just totally, misblown calls and shortage of down. But thank God that's not what we're here to talk about, because, if Penn State loses that game, that's probably one of the top 3 subjects.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, other things that stood out to me, and we'll talk about the officiating, but I thought Penn State played extremely well. They go into halftime, it's 14-10. Probably should have been 17-10 at least. If Brandon Smith makes the interception, or if Clifford makes a better decision. I don't completely absolve him on that heave. That was not a throw. That was a prayer towards the end zone. I know he got hit, and that might have taken a little bit off of it. Doesn't take away the fact that he was double covered down the field. That was a bad decision, but again, not the end of the world. The bigger one is squeeze it if you're Brandon Smith, and you got at least 3. If not, maybe find your way into the end zone on the return there. But short of that, I thought 14-10, call it 17-10, was as good as you could have asked for. I thought Auburn played a great game in the first half. They continued to in the second half, and those are tough physical games where when you find yourself up 4 at half as a coach like James Franklin or Mike Yurcich, you're happy with where you are. Where from where my seat was, I thought Penn State was playing excellent football through the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, you know what? And I give Auburn a lot of credit. They played tough the whole way through. I think, I'm not an Auburn follower or anything like that, but I think they have a pretty good coach from what it looks like with Brian Harsin. And the team played hard. They didn't quit. They were in it till the very end, had their chances. Even Bo Nix didn't turn the ball over. I mean, he really couldn't get the ball downfield much outside of maybe 2 throws. Their running game was phenomenal. But you know what? I think the better team won. Sean Clifford made plays. And, one thing that I noticed on the replay from watching on my TV is the Penn State defense looked incredibly fast out there, especially earlier on in the game, just swarming to the ball. We talked a lot about this defense already this year. They just look faster, really, than I've seen them before. And that back 4, that secondary group, might be the best as far as I can remember, it might be the best secondary Penn State's had, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's different, right? I mean, there have been some really, really good Marcus Allen. He's playing in the NFL, tremendous guy to strong safety, come up at the line, stop the run, lay the wood. Jaquan Brisker, in terms of ball skills and anticipation, his ability to get into space and his quickness off the snap, he is, I believe, just as good as anybody we've seen at that position in a long time. Castro Fields is playing his best football in a Penn State uniform, and Joey Porter Jr. is a future pro. There's no doubt about that. He is fantastic at that position.
Yeah. I mean, whenever he decides to come out, I think he's going to be, a first or second rounder, to be honest with you. I still think he has a ton of potential to tap into, but I'm just very confident with the secondary right now. No team has had really much success at all throwing on Penn State. So, it's going to be interesting these next couple of weeks after Villanova. They're going to be tested even more. So if this defense keeps showing up like this, they're going to be in every game.
And I like the way Brent Pry called the football game as well. I thought he mixed in his substitutions well. I think he did a great job bringing pressure. Your personnel is a big part of that as well. You talk about how much you like your secondary. This is not a position, the one I'm about to say, where Penn State has struggled in the past from a talent perspective. But their edge rushers this year, even losing, Gross Matos a couple of years ago and Tony last year, and even Owe, who made the game-saving play against Kansas City last night for Baltimore. Even with all that, these two guys, Ebikeite and, of course, Luketa coming from the linebacker position to an edge rusher, they're really good. I'm not saying there's depth there, but I'm saying that those two guys are fantastic at the Big Ten and college football level. They're going to continue to make some hay. Mustipher is really good up the middle, stuff in the run. Still need to see a little bit more from Tangelo. Again, we said a lot of this last week as well. But you like that front four. Linebacking core is good. It is interesting, though, for the second time in as many weeks or second time in 3 weeks, I was a little bit surprised by a Big Ten weekly honor, Tyler. The first one I was surprised by was Jordan Stout against Wisconsin after missing the extra point and the short field goal. Granted, he punted the ball great. I'm also surprised to hear Brandon Smith listed as the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. I thought, obviously, he had double-digit tackles, and all that is good. I think he made some bad decisions in pass rush, bad decisions in coverage, dropped the interception, and it was not a great call, but there's no reason to even touch the quarterback going out of bounds or the carrier running out of bounds for Auburn there. I'm surprised that with all the performances that he was the guy named Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week.
I agree. I was a little surprised too. If he maybe gets that pick six or whatever there, that would have set him up, probably maybe would have iced it. I don't know what the other guys in the Big Ten did. I was only really focused on this game.
Did you think he was the best player on the field for Penn State defensively?
Probably not. No. But I don't know defensively. I think a lot of different guys shined for the defense. Mm-hmm. I even think the ends. And I think the ends played well. They just never got home on any sacks, but they were darn close. I think Porter Jr. played well. I think the corners both played well.
They went after Porter. Did you notice that? They went after Porter a lot more than they did Castro Fields.
Right, and I know the one big play was off of Hardy on the back shoulder down the middle.
Great throw, by the way. I don't blame Hardy at all. Just really
there's nothing you can do about that. I think Smith played a good game. And he's another one when I talk about potential. I mean, he's got so much more room to grow, which is, a really good thing. But you want to see that really start to click here, especially after this 3-0 start and looking ahead at the schedule. I mean, a couple of big games coming up, as we mentioned, and you need you're one of your best players to really start to get it and be that consistent piece as one of your most important positions on defense there.
So you went back and watched the game. You were there in person. Tell me about how the Whiteout came across for the folks that were there and didn't get to watch it back on TV, and for the folks that watched it on TV and weren't there in person.
The Whiteout is, you can't really describe it to people. You really have to, even if you're not a Penn State fan or an opposing team's fan, it's something, if you're just a football fan or a sports junkie, just to take it in, because I don't want to say TV doesn't do it justice, but you see a lot of different cool things when you're at the game, and you can actually feel the energy. I didn't sit in my section the whole game. I know a lot of people were in that same boat. Just really to be able to see the sunset. The sun was setting at the time of the game. The whiteout. I know that the blimp has a couple of really cool shots from up top. It's just an amazing spectacle that you really can't describe it to people until they go to a game there. And I thought this whiteout was right up there with some of the other great ones that I've been at. Ohio State 2016, Ohio State 2018, despite the ending. This was right up there with all of them.
How about the student section? They were full about a good hour before kickoff. Never seen that before.
That was a pleasant surprise. In fact, almost the whole stadium was almost filled with like an hour in warm-ups, and it's something that I've never even seen, despite no matter who the opponent or what the occasion is. But the whiteout, it's not just the game. It's like it's like an event. The tailgating. And of course the game, but it's a great day. It was perfect weather. But yeah, Penn State, hopefully James Franklin's handing out those halls. I know I could use some right now, but the students certainly deserve it because that was impressive by them to be there and that loud the whole game.
Adam Talaferro made his return to Beaver Stadium for the first time in 20 years. That was incredible to see. You did get the sense that maybe the students didn't quite understand the gravity, and you can't blame them for that. They weren't.
Some of them weren't even born. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but when he was hurt.
Yeah, there were tons of people, Bob, where I was sitting. Saquon Barkley was right in front of us on the sideline. Troy Apke was there. Grant Haley was there. Cam Brown. Pretty much just a lot of guys were there. Obviously, Saquon was the guest speaker at game day, or the guest picker at game day. Just Michael Mahdi was there. And then, of course, the guys that can't make it into town, they get you fired up on the video board. Mike Gesicki, Micah Parsons. It's just a really, really good day, for Penn State football. And obviously a huge win to cap it off and catapults Penn State from number 10 to number 6, only 3 weeks in. But you can't ask for a better start right now if you're Penn State, sitting at 3-0 and having a pretty good resume to back it up right now, probably one of the top resumes already in college football. So all good things right now for Penn State.
How about that? Penn State jumps from 10 to 6 on a week where every other team in the top 10 won their games.
Yeah, it's crazy. After last year, by the way, Penn State, for now it's a 7-game winning streak going back to last year. Number 1 recruiting class in the country, top 10 ranking at number 6. And not to mention, as you just did mention a little bit, Penn State wins. Ohio State and Clemson both win, and Penn State jumps them. I can't say I necessarily saw that coming, to be honest with you. Obviously, those two teams have one loss. Both of those teams, specifically Clemson, just does not look good right now. Not sure what's going on there. Obviously, a new quarterback, but Gehlhaus or whatever was supposed to be pretty good. Only put up 14 points against Georgia Tech, but Penn State's in a really good spot right now. If things shake out the way they should, you're probably looking at a top 5 matchup in Iowa City in just under 3 weeks. I think that's what it is, right, Bob? 3 weeks out.
Yeah, 9th.
Yeah, about a little less than 3 weeks now. So, if all things go according to plan, that'll be one heck of a matchup coming up in a couple of weeks.
Let's get back to the offense a little bit. One guy that, aside from Tyler Warren, that really made a debut for himself was the Baylor transfer running back, John Lovett, a guy that we thought was in the doghouse. J1 Sider wouldn't even say anything about during his media availability.
I think he was in the doghouse for what? I don't know, but all I can say is it's good to have somebody like that a home run threat out of the backfield, because I think that's what Penn State lacks at the running back position. You have Kane and Lee who can just hammer, but you throw a guy in like Lovett, it brings another dimension to the offense.
It does, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. That is helpful too. Kevon Lee fumbled early. Hasn't lost a fumble yet this year, Tyler, but did fumble in 2 consecutive weeks and was able to get it back both times. That
Question
is a
for you.
concern. Yeah.
Did you agree with Penn State essentially not giving him another handoff the rest of the day after that fumble?
Well, Kane is your guy. He's your horse, and Lovett showed what he did, and Franklin has shown his ability to ride the hot hand.
Okay.
He begins every press conference after the game with how did they do in the turnover battle, how did they do in the penalty battle, and how did they do in the battle for big plays, right? How many big plays do you have versus give up? And if you're leading with turnovers, and we lambasted Clifford for everything he did last year, then you have to uphold the same standard at the running back position. And there's such a deep room that if you're not holding on to the football, you're not going to see the field.
Yeah, I agree with it. I just thought that the run before it was a phenomenal run. I mean, for 11 yards, but he got hit at 5 yards and kept going and pushed some guys off. Obviously it's something he's got to tighten up. But I really like what John Lovett, he didn't fill the stat sheet. He had 1 catch for 18, but that was a big play. And then he only had two runs. I'm looking here. 2 runs for 9 yards. So, but none of the running backs really killed it, especially running the ball. But I liked what I saw in the little limited sample size from Lovett. And I think Yurcich is going to have, a couple plays per game to get this guy the ball. Because he can be a dangerous weapon that a lot of defenses aren't focusing on.
Agreed. I think his use of Lovett there, as well as the tight ends, 2 major changes offensively from what we've seen in the first 2 weeks. And some of that is probably gamesmanship, right? You're not going to spill all your chips on the table against Ball State. You're going to save something for Auburn. And I don't know that play action fake to Lovett, rolling Clifford out that direction and throwing it back across the field to a guy like Lovett with 2 receivers setting the edge for him on the blocking scheme. I just don't know that was in in Auburn's arsenal in terms of what they were expecting defensively. So I give credit for Penn State for keeping it quiet on Lovett, getting him out there in action and putting him in a position to succeed. And again, confusing that opposing defense. That was a huge play in that game at the time.
Yeah, it was, and it'll be even more interesting, Bob, to see how the running back room shakes out. And I mean, Devin Ford didn't even get any offensive touches. He's the primary kick returner, but as we know, the last couple of years, it's been a deep room, and the hot hand will be the guy that's getting majority of the runs when it matters most in the game.
Sure, and the fact that you're talking about a deeper wide receiver and even now tight end room than you were talking about at the wide receiver position, that is absolutely bonkers to me, because really it is those 3 guys. And really, those 3 guys. I know Sullivan Brown got some reps, but
right.
It
and
is.
Eubanks did get some reps. I saw him out there. But no, you're right. I mean, those 3 guys have stepped up. I mean, all of them bring something to the table.
Washington really, really good. Of course, Dotson is your star. And Keandre Lambert-Smith had a great game. But again, I'm more, I guess, good in a good way, very surprised that you're seeing a guy like Tyler Warren take snaps away from Theo Johnson, a guy that a lot of folks thought, hey, he's going to even jump Brenton Strange, although Strange is great in run blocking. Didn't expect to see it out of the fullback position. I mean, he picked up a couple of great blocks of linebackers at the second level. Number 86 lined up at the true fullback position. 1, Penn State fullback, you kidding me? And then 2, Brenton Strange is that guy. Mike Yurcich made a lot of fans of some traditional offensive football fans on Saturday night.
And they went under center quite a bit on Saturday night. Nice little play action to Brenton Strange for the 1 touchdown down in your end. Was he lined up at tight end or fullback for that?
That one was tight end. That one, I believe, tight end.
Okay. But that's such a simple play, and it was executed perfectly. It wasn't even close, obviously, to being defended by Auburn. But that's something that we just haven't seen in the last couple of years. And just go under center, a little play action, and just toss it over, and it's an easy touchdown. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it because it's so hard to defend. And if you're running it that smoothly, good luck defending it.
Yeah, let's talk about the goal line play on your end of the field. The Noah Kane touchdown, 3rd and goal. Again, gutsy call. You always like it when it works, but it felt, Tyler, like that was the moment of the game, and that coming up with 3 there, or having to go for it on 4th and goal, could be the difference between winning and losing. And looking at the couple of drives that Auburn had down the stretch, it might have ended up have been the difference between winning and losing, which was Kane getting that touchdown to put it to 28-20.
Well, yeah, I mean, that whole situation with, the targeting on Auburn, on Washington, and then now you're 1st and goal at the 1. I forgot what they did on 1st down. I think Kane lost a yard actually. 2nd down, they come in and do the Wildcat with Warren. And I kind of thought they were going to throw it just to I thought it was too obvious. 3rd down, Auburn actually calls a timeout. Penn State runs out. I told my brother, I said I would honestly run it right here because I don't think they're expecting it. You have your 3. You had 3 receivers out to the left on the same side. You had Kane set up, and it was clearly it fooled Auburn because he was untouched pretty much getting into the end zone, and he didn't get touched until he was already in.
Yeah, tell you what, it was close though. It was either a touchdown or he was going to lose 3 yards because he was almost hit in the backfield.
Yeah, but but once he got past that guy, it was wide open, and it definitely gutsy call. And I like running the ball down there. Obviously, it's tougher to throw when you're down that close to the end zone. So, Yurcich called a great game, I thought, as we talked about earlier. But Clifford in all the right spots, and it's that hire is really paying. We're seeing the dividends paying off already.
Yes, we are. I think it is now time to just touch on the officiating in that game.
Where do we start?
let's go blow by blow. Penn State forced to punt on 3rd down. The officials took away a down. Everybody in the stadium knew it. Everybody doing the telecast knew it. Everybody on the Penn State sideline knew it. Everybody on the Auburn sideline, I'm sure, knew it. The only guys that didn't know it were the officials in the replay booth.
So when the play happened, first of all, I don't think that that's necessarily grounding. You might disagree. I've seen that play 100 times not get called simply because it's a miscommunication. It's a miscommunication between the quarterback and the receiver. Clifford was not under any sort of pressure to just, oh crap, let me chuck it up, anything like that. You could see it was a miscommunication. In fact, Auburn wasn't that far away from, a couple steps from picking it off, essentially. So yeah, that happens. And then all of a sudden, it's, I see that it's 3rd down and Penn State runs just a 5-yard out to Dotson. And I'm thinking, why would they do that on 3rd and 15? Then they're sitting the punt team out and everyone starts yelling, arguing. There were these 2 Auburn fans a couple rows in front of us. They're like, no, you lose a down if it's grounding. I said, yeah, well, I know the rules of football, but you don't lose 2 downs. It went from 1st to 3rd. Not everybody caught on to it. Majority of the 109,000 people did catch on to it, including myself, my brother, and most of the people around us. But I don't know how that happens at this level. High school, middle school, sure, I can see an error like that when you don't have the technology and all that. But how does that happen?
Yeah, it's a brutal call. Absolutely a brutal call.
Thank God it didn't cost them the game or anything. But that's terribly bad. And I don't know if there's any. Did the SEC, I know it was their crew, did they put out any statement or anything?
They did. They said that one was a mistake. And I'd say this, and this would be my parting thought. If you have a chance to go check out the SEC shorts, by the way, you should follow their YouTube channel. It's really, really funny. But they did a specific one about SEC officials, and it references a lot of things that happened in the Penn State game. So if you're looking for a good laugh, go check out the SEC shorts. But the Penn State Nittany Lions come away with the win. They beat Auburn 28-20. Excellent game. We're going to check out our guy,
real quick,
Ryan.
If you don't mind, Bob, real quick. I thought we're going to stay on the grounding subject. Bo Nix is in the third quarter, was blatant grounding, in my opinion.
No, was there? I thought there was a tight end on that side of the field.
Not even close. It ended up in the first row. He was in the pocket.
No, I get that, but there's a lot of guys that throw it away high and wide.
Well, here's what I'm saying. If they're going to call the grounding on Clifford, then that's 100% got to be grounding. That's my argument.
I think they're two completely separate plays, and you can probably let them both go if I'm officiating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Smith was had Nix under pressure, and you can tell he just chucks it up.
Of course.
The one thing I did like about the officiating was I don't think there were any holds on either team the whole game, which I'm a fan of. As long as my thing is just call it. If you're going to call holding, just be consistent. And if you're not, and I thought they let him play majority of the game. I was worried that they were going to call Brisker on pass interference on that fourth down, where it wasn't even close because the Auburn guy pulled him down. But I'm glad that they didn't. It wasn't like ticky tack holding because I think both teams got away with a few.
Yep, really bad. We can leave that to some other folks to litigate, but some not so great officiating. Penn State worked their way through it. Huge win over Auburn. And next up is Villanova. We'll talk about that next with our guest, Ryan Lennox, our guest picker. He is a producer for Villanova football and basketball radio broadcast, does the coaches shows each week from a local bar. He will be a wealth of knowledge, and we're excited to have him. You're listening to the Nittany Lion Sports Report. You're on Bob Long Sports.
Dunphy Ford is Mayfair's neighborhood Ford store.
Nobody knows your neighborhood like Dunphy Ford.
Nearly 40 years.
Right here on Frankfort Avenue.
Generation after generation. Our neighbors continue to be our customers. We have access to the cars and trucks you want with financing you need.
Dunphy Ford is Northeast Philly's first choice for America's #1 brand. 7700 Frankfort Avenue in Mayfair. Online at www.dunphyford.com.
Come experience the Dunphy difference. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to the Nittany Lion Sports Report, everybody. Bob Long, Tyler Gehlhaus, and our special guest picker today, he is Ryan Lennox, also of DJ Lennox, by the way. He's a man of many talents. But Ryan, what we're here to talk about today is the Villanova Wildcats football team, the opponent of Penn State this coming weekend. Number 6 versus number 7. Different polls, of course, and different classifications of football. But we got a top 10 matchup coming our way this weekend. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I was actually just looking at the box score from this past weekend, and good Lord, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
You go through their last 3 games. Obviously, they're 3-0. They've only given up a touchdown in 1 quarter so far this year.
Okay. What quarter would that be?
Quarter 3 of the Richmond game. That's it.
Wow. Okay. So we're looking at
three touchdowns actually in that quarter, huh?
Well, I mean, if you're going to blow it out, you might as well do it in 1 quarter. But...
That's exactly right. So Ryan, you've been working with Ryan Fannin, and you work with Ryan and Whitey Rigsby on the basketball side. You do coaches shows from local establishments. Most recently, Mark Ferrante, head coach Mark Ferrante of the football team. Tell us about Mark. Tell us about what the personnel and what the expectations are for this Villanova football team at the FCS and CAA level.
I've worked with Coach. I worked with him before, but in a different capacity. When I was with 610, we did the show, but I did it from the studio. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different being up close and personal with these guys, actually getting to chit chat with them on the breaks. But he's explosive. He's got this team all fired up. So they're good to go. This weekend looks very interesting. Penn State's offensive line is just eek. They're so good. But every game Villanova's in, it's just interception central. So hopefully they can put a little pressure on that QB and, have him make some mistakes. But I think it's going to be a good game, maybe 3 out of the 4 quarters. But who knows? I've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah, interesting. Well, a top-ranked FCS team many years ago in Appalachian State took down Michigan. And JMU beat a really good Virginia Tech team several years ago. I think this one will be very, very difficult for Villanova to win, but there's no doubt a galvanizing win against Richmond this past weekend. Did I see this right? A sellout crowd at Villanova Stadium. That looked awesome.
It was a whiteout too, so it was a good time. It was a good time. Everybody I talked to was just going berserk about it because their first home game was the second game. Who did they play? Bucknell, and they might have had a couple of thousand people there, and they were going nuts. And they said it was crazy on Saturday. So I was busy doing a wedding, so I couldn't partake in the festivities. So
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to this game. As you know, Ryan, a guy who grew up a big Villanova football and basketball fan. I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee back in 2009 when Matt Caesar and Brandon Harvey and Chris Whitney and all those Villanova guys went and defeated Montana in the FCS football championship. So this is a game I've been looking forward to, again, for many, many years. Now, tell me more about your role, though. So you are on site, and tell me what it'll look like for basketball as well. You're in a very desirable position that a lot of people would envy.
So I'm the on-site engineer for the coaches show. I'm the on-site engineer / producer for maybe 1 or 2 football games, and then a bunch of basketball games coming up. So obviously we get them on the air. We get spots played, sponsorships, talked about on the air. Sometimes they have somebody come in at halftime, do an interview. We're in charge of making sure the highlights are tight. Back with Fox, Gambler, those guys over there, they run a tight ship as well. So it's a collective effort. It's me and 2 other guys, and it's great so far.
That's good. Expectations for the basketball team? I mean, we talk Villanova. We can't just talk football. We have to talk about this basketball.
Right now, I would say Sweet 16 until I see Gillespie play, and then it'll probably be like Final Four.
Wow. Okay, so that's very direct. I was more like, hey, are they, how do they look? I got to tell you, I think this team does look great as well on the basketball side. Gillespie back, Samuel's back. Of course, Robinson goes to the NBA, but
can't win them all.
No, that's exactly right. Samuel's back is huge. He has vastly improved as a player.
Yeah, I heard he put on like 15 pounds this summer, just straight muscle. Oof.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they had a big recruit in the other day. What's his last name?
Lively.
Was it? I thought it was Hauser.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah. So he came in. They gave him the whole grand tour, and he's teetering between Villanova and a couple other schools. But you pick him up, I'm telling you, he'd replace Gillespie in his role in the next year. So I think he would probably start as a freshman.
Okay. There you go. What's the vibe amongst back to football? What's the vibe amongst fans after the 3-0 start about this game? I would guess that there's not an expectation that they're going to come win the game, of course, but are people excited for the challenge?
They're excited for the challenge and just the fact that they're going to play at Penn State. Is there a time for that game yet?
Yeah, it's noon kickoff.
Oh, is it noon? Okay, because the other day it was still to be determined. So, I mean, that'll be a great opportunity to go out there and play those rotten Nittany Lions and hopefully put a little scare into them. I mean, expectations, as long as they don't get blown out and just kills morale for the next game, I think they're going to be okay.
I'll tell you what, even if they do get blown out, they're walking home with a big fat check to fund the rest of the department.
That's what I always thought was funny is when the smaller schools play these big schools and they lose, and the big schools lose. You just paid to lose, but whatever.
Now, how does it work? Obviously, Villanova is number 7 in the FCS rankings. Assuming they lose, do they get penalized in the rankings for that, or how's that usually shake out?
You can't get penalized when you're playing number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State. You're not going to get penalized. I mean, if they lost 81-3, sure, they would probably get dinged. But when you're playing a top 10 school in the country, that's on the schedule. So they know that they're going to drop a little bit, but they're not going to drop completely out of it.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Okay.
I don't think it's so structured as, hey, we will physically not count this loss against you in your win-loss.
No,
but it's taken into account by the polls.
And it's the same thing at the end of the year. It goes by strength of schedule. So Penn State goes on an insane run and they go undefeated the rest of the year. Then that just makes Nova look even better. So you played the number 1 team of the nation. It bumps them up a little bit, but they'll take a little ding. But they're ready. They're ready for JMU. They're ready for Delaware. They're ready for everybody.
And those are the big rivals. Battle of the Blue, Delaware. JMU down in Harrisonburg. They got Tyler. I don't know if you've ever been down there, but a wonderful stadium, Bridgeforth Stadium.
Yeah,
as good a place.
I've seen it, but I've never been to a game there. But my buddy went to JMU and he raves about their football program.
It's like what football is to Texas down there. Like what that school does for football, it's insane. I lived not too far from there for a few years, and it's unbelievable.
Wow.
That's great. Well, we can't wait for this game. We're going to put your money where your mouth is on our last pick, but we're going to make some other picks, 5 other picks. Tyler's going to give us the games. You're going to make your pick, and then Tyler and I will pick, and we recognize your time frame, so we'll do it quickly.
Gotcha.
All right, we will we'll start off. Actually, Notre Dame takes on Wisconsin this week at Soldier Field. Give us your winner.
Oh, Notre Dame, easily.
Easily.
Easily. They're going to trounce. They're going to trounce Wisconsin.
You are confident. I'm going to go the other way.
I'm going to say by at least 10 too.
By at least 10.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a betting man, but go ahead and throw some money on that because Notre Dame's like 5-point underdogs right now.
Yeah, I like Wisconsin, Tyler. That's my pick.
No way.
I'm going Wisconsin too. Notre Dame. Well, we all know that Wisconsin lost to Penn State, but to me, it's Notre Dame hasn't looked great this year. And in Wisconsin, a lot of people don't realize this. Early season bye to an extra week to prepare for Notre Dame. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I think Wisconsin will win it in the end. Our next pick is LSU at Mississippi State.
I think that one's going to be a little closer.
No pressure.
I'm going to go with Mississippi State on that one.
Okay.
Just because I can't stand LSU. Can't stand them. I couldn't stand their basketball team. Can't stand their football team. So I'm going to go with Mississippi State.
I'm going to go with Mississippi State too. That fan base thought Penn State got a raw deal at times, and from an officiating standpoint, Mississippi State fans were incensed. They returned to Starkville, and I think the Cowbells and the LSU Tigers pay the price for that anger.
What happened?
There was an issue with a punt where they returned a punt, and then the officials had blown it dead, but they hadn't really. Check it out.
Who did they play?
Memphis.
They lost.
I believe they did lose to Memphis.
All right. Well, in that case, I'm going with your little research there, and I'm going Mississippi State as well for the clean sweep. We're going to keep it in the SEC. Battle of top 20 teams: Texas A&M and Arkansas.
I'll shake it up. I'll go with Arkansas.
Texas A&M's played like garbage thus far this year, but I think they're a better team than Arkansas. I give Arkansas a ton of credit. I think they come back to earth this week.
I'm going Arkansas too. Home team, and A&M's starting quarterback, I believe, is still injured. So with those reasons, and because Arkansas killed Texas, that is my only basis with this. I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
So I'm on an island there, Tyler. I'm the only one.
Yeah, you are on your island, Bob. We're gonna jump to the ACC. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. Clemson not looking too hot this year. They're gonna travel to NC State, which I think could be a very interesting matchup.
I'll definitely go with NC State. Clemson's another team like Alabama that gets every top 5 recruit in the country, all these 5-star athletes, and it's just not fair. So I'm going to shake it up. We'll go with NC State.
Okay, I'm going to say this is the day that Clemson returns to Clemson, and I think they win by 3 touchdowns.
Whoa. Bob the Weapon with a big, bold statement there.
Bold statement.
Oof.
You know what? I think Clemson's going to win. I'm going to pick Clemson. Yeah, I'm waiting for them to turn it on because they have so much talent. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week. I think they're going to have enough. Now, remember, Clemson loses one more game. They're more than likely out of the whole playoff race. So pressure's officially on. It has been on, and they're going to have to respond because going to NC State really isn't an easy place to play. I mean, they're going to be ready. Their fans are going to be geared up. They think they have a good team down there. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to go Clemson squeaking it out over NC State. And we will stay.
We lost Ryan, I think. Up, and he's coming back in. So let's just do this on the fly. Podcast magic going on right here. Why don't you lead in with that next game?
It's actually second to last game, but if we'll stay in the ACC, UNC at Georgia Tech.
My philosophy, anybody but UNC, so I'll go with Georgia Tech.
I will go with UNC.
Man, this is tough because Georgia Tech almost beat Clemson last week, and now they return home to take on a really good UNC team. I'll take Georgia Tech too. I'll go anybody but UNC. I like that. I like that motto right there. So give me the Yellow Jackets. And then the final game, I could not find a spread on it. Bob found somewhere 29 points. Ryan, if you don't mind, give us your score prediction for the Penn State Villanova game on Saturday and your winner.
Let's see. I think Penn State's going to be shook up, even worse than that bad officiating call over the weekend with the puns. I'm going to say 35-21.
Wow. Yeah. So you got Villanova covered.
Who? Penn State or Villanova?
Nah, I got to go with Penn State on that one, man.
I was thinking, Notre Dame, you're saying no doubt Notre Dame, maybe a Catholic school thing here or something. But
yeah, right.
I am going to pick Penn State to cover. I got a score in the 42-3 range. But I am excited for this game to see Villanova and hope that it does galvanize the team over the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to go 49-6 Penn State. I'm not sure if Villanova. I really don't know much about Villanova, but they are a good FCS team. If anything, that'll be good for them to come in and get that big fat paycheck. And then they have. I was just checking their schedule. They have a bye before JMU, right? So that'll be good. That'll actually.
The bye is what? I think they're a bye on the second. So yeah, they've got a bye coming up.
So I think it actually sets up pretty well for Villanova to regroup, take their lumps against Penn State. And I think that the Penn State game is actually going to make it better for Villanova as a learning experience before they start here with JMU on the 9th. And I think that could pay dividends down the road for them.
Yes, sir.
Although Ryan's not thinking we're putting enough RESPECT on Villanova's
name. Hey, we'll see.
I'm gonna let Coach Ferrante know about that hideous score that you just gave out too. So
hey, listen, all I can say is if Villanova somehow wins this game, I wonder how crazy Route 30 Lancaster Ave will be, because I was down there when they won in 2016 over UNC, of course, with the Chris Jenkins shot, and it was crazy. Oh, yeah. So, you never know. I wonder if it would be a crazier scene. I don't think it will happen, but, crazier things have happened.
Yeah. You never know, man. Well, listen, you Wildcats, I got to get going here, but
thanks for being here.
Enjoy that pie on your face this weekend when the Cats are the ultimate upset. So
truer words. Well, we'll see. May never have been spoken. We'll keep an eye out for that, Ryan. Thanks for being here.
All right, guys. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Yep.
So that is Ryan Lennox from the Villanova basketball
6 o'clock on the dot
and football radio producer. 6 on the dot. We got him out of there onto his shift. He's a guy that does a lot of things, man. He does DJing for weddings. He does radio producing. He obviously is working with Fox Sports Media Group with the Villanova basketball and football shows. So, a Renaissance man for sure. And we were happy we could have him as our guest for Villanova week. I mean, what better guest could you possibly imagine?
Man, I don't know where you find these people, but you certainly have the connections out there, my man.
Well, it was a good show. Anything you think we missed? I know we needed to bring Ryan on when we did. Anything more from Penn State Auburn before we go?
I don't really have anything else on Penn State Auburn. I think next week, hopefully we really don't have too much to talk about regarding the Penn State Villanova, because it would probably mean it was too close of a game. But I would like to talk about, after hopefully Penn State does take care of business against Villanova, with all Big Ten games remaining, I kind of maybe want to reset expectations here a little bit next week and see where the rest of this ride goes. I think that would be fun to talk about. I know our listeners are really, starting to get excited with this 3-0 start. They just announced that Penn State, Indiana is a 7:30 kickoff on ESPN family of networks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, after this Villanova game, we're Big Ten. Obviously, we already played Wisconsin, but the remaining schedule will be Big Ten. And I think the expectations may have changed a little bit for some people. And I'd like to talk about that next week. And I think a lot of people would enjoy hearing that.
There you go. So that's what we have to look forward to. Until then, enjoy the football. A noon kickoff. Villanova travels to Penn State. Like I said, a game that I in particular have always been hoping for. I was actually hoping for it on the basketball side of things.
Yeah, that would be good.
We'll take it here this weekend. But Tyler, big win over Auburn. Great job by Penn State. They showed out well on the national scale, both from a diagram and basically how it showed on television and beyond perspective, in person for recruits, and then what we saw on the offensive and defensive play call side. All in all, tremendous weekend for Penn State. A lot of momentum to build on, and we'll see what this team has for us over the next month. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Ryan Lennox, our guest picker, and we'll see everybody next week on the Nittany Lion Sports Report.